Yes.
You're done on the camera.
Again. All set?
Take it away.
I'd like to call to order, May 1st meeting. Special meeting agenda here, roll call.
Dante Alvarez, Prem Piazza,
Wait, Potter.
Alex Hastings.
Okay. George Massimo.
And Joe Dela Cruz. Any public communications? Screw it all up. From any of the board, any public? All right. All right, then we have, I need a motion for approval of minutes from April 3rd. Do we have any?
Motion to approve. Second.
Second by Bill. All in favor? Oh, this is going good. Good
I
job.
abstain.
George abstained. All right, old business, the business outreach calendar and communications.
So that is for you all to share what you got to do over the past month in terms of business outreach, and I'll just say now, I did not get to update the assignments for the month of May yet, but I should be able to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
You got out and about, let us know.
Yeah, I talked to 3 firms, Dan's Rice Box, Banana Cafe, R&B Apparel. R&B Apparel, I was talking to the assistant of the owner. They seem to be very happy about it, about being connected. I also talked about social media, that she was very receptive to that. Manana, I talked to the owner's ex-wife, who is filling in. She said we worked together for 13 years, so we're good. And she said she'd let him know, and I gave her the card and all that stuff, and again, talked about possible grants, things like that. Same with Dan's Rice Box. So it was very positive, I think.
Yeah, I'll say the same. I didn't get to, Hello Gorgeous was on my list, but, I did talk to, I went to Taqueria. Restaurants, it seems a little tougher sometimes, like it's a little hit or miss with who's gonna be there. So they have, the information. And you know, it might have been a little bit easier if you know, hablando español. Poquito. So, you know, it's, that's a barrier, but a good one, because it's good to have, you know, on a diverse background, but, that made it a little bit. Otherwise, my perceptions have been positive too. The assignments are helpful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did not get any direct off my list, but I eat out every single day and I see I know all the ins and outs, and I know manana. I will say I apologize for the garlic parm wing. I don't apologize because it was so good at Aston Jay's. I don't know if anyone's been there. I eat there, like, that's my once every 2 week schedule, but they had a garlic wing special thing, and you're gonna suffer for that today. But, it's those little places that I think most people don't ever walk into unless you get the chance to, but my buddy had a smash burger that looked absolutely, I'm probably gonna go back there later this week and see what it's all about, but. All right. Reports. The chair report, I'm subbing for Bob, and Bob didn't give anything for me to relay to anybody. So. We'll go to the staff report.
Well, and, do you want to do all the reports before new business?
Other reports?
But the new business is just right before that. Do you want to jump into that or?
Oh, I skipped new business. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm like rolling.
Almost done.
Yeah, baby, let's.
6:10. done.
All right, that is my fault. Business, I'm an assistant client.
Very. All right. So, all of you just saw, we were just wrapping up our subcommittee meeting for this topic. So, our subcommittee members review, the EAF request, and then we are, go back to the beginning of our presentation, and we'll dive in. We'll make it pretty quick. Essentially, last month, let me just make sure. Last month, if you remember, we went over, We went over the EAF application process, just to get you all prepared for this evening with an EAF request. So very briefly, we'll go over that overview, the role of the subcommittee that just met, overview of past projects, and then the application and project eligibility, the award amount determination, and then the next steps for you. And next slide, please. So as you remember, this is a one-time financial reimbursement for public infrastructure improvements or business development related to the items on the slide. The program facilitates the development of businesses that create jobs in sectors and generates new tax increases in taxable property. The EAF guidelines direct the process of review and endorsement and recommendation to town council. So the subcommittee just heard this application. You will consider their recommendation, and then if you endorse it, it goes to. I think. So we took a deep dive into the application. We also looked at the precedent of previously approved projects to look at those and what how they related to the policy. And we dove into essentially how we got to the award amount, which we'll walk through with you, and how everything meets the EAF guidelines. Again, that subcommittee just met and they supported 2-to-1 the endorsement and recommendation we have for you this evening. And then again, after that, it will go to town council if you endorse it this evening. On a side note as well, the total balance for this fund is about $406,000. So just keep that in mind as you consider what amount we'd be using out of that fund this evening. Okay. So for determining the factors for the award amount for this application, the total award may not exceed 2 years worth of anticipated local tax revenues and no more than 50% of the overall project costs. And the value requested, again, can't be that more than 50%. We'll walk you through those numbers in a later slide and how it meets those criteria. Also, again, we looked at those precedents of previous awards, and an emphasis is placed on supporting infrastructure improvements that exceed the life of the specific project use, as well as the public benefit. And most projects receive roughly about half of their request historically.
The 2 years worth of anticipated local tax revenue, is that additional?
No, based on the improvement. So basically,
So it is
like
additional.
base year, like
It is additional.
yeah. So if you're making 10,000
Above it,
whatever.
above the base.
So I'll walk you through a very quick overview of past projects. We have 5 so far. In 2020, we had E.S. Goodman with Standard. That was for infrastructure costs related to new mixed use commercial and residential. We have Sith Base Shop in 2019 for infrastructure costs related to commercial kitchen addition. Grand Wine and Spirits in 2019 for new commercial construction. Rogers Development with infrastructure costs for new residential, and then CrossFit in 2018 with infrastructure costs for a new commercial fitness facility. And then Clayton will walk you through essentially a high-level overview of the application. And again, how we arrived at the numbers and the recommendation for this evening that the subcommittee approved to move forward.
So this, since half of you haven't seen this, this is a screenshot from the application that just gets at some of the 3 main questions. The brief project narrative, this is a 29-unit residential building, 3 stories plus 1 ground level parking garage, and it creates 1 full-time job for a property manager, which is something that one of the criteria. How will the requested funds be used? For various site improvements, including EV chargers, water and sewer service extensions, telecom connection, curb cuts, street lighting, stormwater upgrades, including oil separator and retention pond, underground utilities, and a new transformer. And describe how this project meets the goals, eligibility, and selection criteria set forth in the guidelines. This project is a small business enterprise located on 12 Groton Ski commercial area, providing 29 new market rate residential units in close proximity to the submarine base. Owner, general contractor, and many subcontractors and suppliers are Groton based. So that is obviously the applicant's answers. And then from our perspective, we wanted to make sure it does meet all the criteria. So the first section of bullet points required criteria are prerequisites for any project to receive approval. It must increase the local tax base, must create or retain jobs within Groton, must conform to current zoning regs and the most recent plan of conservation development. The anticipated tax increase is significant. They are creating at least one job with the property manager, and they're already working with planning. It's gonna meet all the zoning requirements and is already in alignment with the P O C D. The preferences are additional evaluation criteria provided in the guidelines. They are not required, but projects that meet at least 3 preferred consideration. And this project meets 4, being located on Route 12 in one of the targeted development areas, readying nearby parcels for development. A portion of the costs utilize public funding sources or other incentives, and value of requested funds is no more than 50% of total project costs. Here is pretty much like the key information for the subcommittee that they used in their consideration. The numbers on the left are all costs and values associated with the project, and then on the right are notes about how those figures apply to the program guidelines. So the total project cost is $6,041,000 divided by the applicant. Half of that figure is $3,020,500. Cannot exceed that $3,020,000. The current taxes generated every 2 years are just under $14,000. And the annual property taxes post improvements will increase significantly. The total infrastructure costs for this project are $241,654. And that was the requested amount in the application. Based on the qualifying infrastructure costs, which are those with public benefit, they amount to $123,000. And the anticipated tax revenue that will be generated every 2 years, post improvements, comes up to $119,344.12. So that is also the maximum award amount, because that is that 2-year stipulation in the guidelines. So the proposed award is $119,344.12, and that received approval by the subcommittee moments ago. This slide shows our recommendation options, and more importantly, we're at the next steps now. So like I said, they recommended the endorsement of that full amount. So from here, it's up to the full body of the EDC to endorse. If you all choose to do so, it'll go to the committee of the whole. If they approve it, it'll go to town council. If it's completely approved by all bodies, then we'll work with the applicant to let them know the contract and to do all the follow through and obtain the required documentation so that they are able to receive the reimbursement after completing the work.
So this evening, as a follow-up from the subcommittee, you essentially are being asked to consider that you choose to endorse the subcommittee's recommendation of approving the 119,344 to then move on to town council committee of the whole. So that's
What was the vote in the subcommittee? It was 2-1, you said?
yeah.
I left the room when that happened.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
0.
What's that?
Right.
Oh, abstain, 2-2-0-1.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that makes me feel a little better. But had some kind of reason to be against it, but.
No, and I think Jake's concern more is a policy level question than based on the application.
Okay.
Essentially, because we were just getting into the nitty gritty of approved infrastructure costs, which in this case aren't as relevant just because they've already reached their max, whether we counted those costs or not. So it's kind of a bigger question for the next application. But the committee moved ahead because we have precedent projects that did utilize, water and things like that as considered infrastructure public. So I think at this point we can discuss or make a motion.
Any questions, anybody?
Want to see the next slide?
The breakdown.
The
The
breakdown.
breakdown, yeah. So this slide is where we had some discussion in the subcommittee meeting. What you're seeing are all of the infrastructure plans provided by the applicant. The cells highlighted in yellow are the are the infrastructure plans that we as staff recommended to support because of their public benefit. The cells are not highlighted, the white cells are just part of the other infrastructure plans that the developer will cover. So you'll see down at the bottom, the total infrastructure cost, 241,000. The total qualifying costs are 123,000, but that maximum award amount based on the taxes projected is 119,000.
And just a note on qualifying and how that's determined is essentially, imagine if this project went away for whatever reason, those infrastructure improvements are still there and can help the next oncoming project. So it's essentially considered a public benefit overall because it's preparing the site for ongoing development, kind of regardless of the use in the future. So that's kind of the loose definition of qualifying.
And that's it. Any questions, anybody on the board? There's no question, no questions. I think we should take a vote.
Yes.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
I guess I have to. I could vote, I could vote to approve this.
Yeah.
Accept our recommendation. Yes, I approve that.
Okay, so unanimous.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
By the way, this whole fund was a vanity project of the former EDC. So what we asked was each of these developer puts down there on their big public display, supported by Groton Economic Development. This is so that you could advertise.
Oh, we're getting a plaque.
No, when they do this stuff.
it's like, I was like, Jason, your opinion, come on. They didn't know.
They do the stuff, signboard outside, it mentions Groton
Oh.
Economic.
Your
Development.
tax dollars at work.
Yeah.
Precisely, so.
So that, yeah, that's been in every referral and resolution, with my town council. So it is precedent.
Well, I wasn't sure whether you knew. Separately, Bill, I wonder if you are doing the EV project, maybe you want to reach out to the Goodmans and.
We don't, I believe
Is there
I've
no-
already,
no
I've
district?
already talked to them. We do not do EV rebates. We don't have funds for EV type things. That was stopped a couple of years ago and I brought it up with my higher ups. They said they're never going down that road again. I don't know why, but
They're
that is the-
incentivizing load.
And
Right.
they know just our geography.
Sorry, are they in our GU territory?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you mean yours and mine?
yeah,
They are, yes.
because I was looking at the transformer, seeing whether that be something to look into for incentivizing.
So we talked to them about that and, I sat down with Aaron about the transformer. And if it's a scenario where we cannot supply the load to somebody
Mhm.
that's already in place, we have to upgrade our systems. But if you're coming and saying, okay, we're bringing something new, we're going to need X, Y, and Z, it's on the customer based on the GU methodology.
Okay. Thank you.
I did offer, some of the rebates for, heat pumps,
Uh-huh.
water heaters, that type of thing. And, they are looking at that pretty closely, trying to work out a scenario where they're over a 2-year period can aggregate some rebates, up to
For all the
200,000
residents.
each year.
Okay.
So there is some funds coming their way for
Good.
that type of thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Are these gonna be condos or rental? I'm sorry, I didn't, rentals. And anything affordable? Not that this, all market value, okay.
Thank you. Now you can do the report.
All right, again, I'll reiterate that I didn't talk to Bob, he didn't relay anything to me to tell you folks, but, staff report.
We just have a couple quick items. I'll do this. Okay, so for our excess property update, as you know, we're moving through Groton Heights and Pleasant Valley. Our update for Pleasant Valley is essentially our property sale review committee made a recommendation for a finalist project concept and development team. And that went to our town council committee of the whole in April 22nd. And they are essentially moving that ahead and have set a public hearing for June 3rd. And we are working diligently on creating a Greater Groton page to provide information to support that public hearing for meaningful engagement there. But it goes a little bit beyond just the proposed concept. It starts all the way back at the process, so folks can learn, how we got here, what we're reviewing in this public hearing, and then what comes next. Because we're really in the beginning stages. It's just the project concept at this point. So getting folks familiar with those materials and then holding that public hearing. And that's it for Pleasant Valley. And keep an eye on Greater Groton as we'll be watching that next.
So while you're doing the website, I think you should also look at some of the documentation. It still mentions please contact page broke.
Oh yeah, it's all over the site. So
So-
another project that we're doing is,
So even in this application,
yes, we're working on actually a whole revamp of our website. So right now it's just in triage mode as far as making sure links still work and those kinds of things. But we're going through a whole strategy of kind of repurposing a lot of pieces to support those investors, because right now Explore is very focused on the investor side, which is great. But your feedback's spot on because we're working on essentially revamping all of it, especially with new team and just giving it a refresh. So that's coming up soon too.
Sorry, just for clarity, the Pleasant Valley webpage will be a Greater Groton project page, and then the site that needs many edits is Explore More Groton. So we are working on both.
Oh, I just, I don't know if you can release yet or what the basic plans are for that, or do you have any ideas?
We can't, so
You
that's
can't, okay.
the point of the website. We recently did an article in the Day, just kind of pointing folks to, I think you can get very familiar with the zoning to get an idea of what it is. It allows for multifamily residential, but also from a land preservation standpoint, requires a 20% set aside of the land in its natural state. In the RFP called for some recreation uses. So I think looking to zoning as a general idea is a good place to start. And then Greater Groton will have the project concept overview of exactly what's proposed at a conceptual level right now.
Yeah, it's fine.
Of course, he's permitting and
Yeah.
engineering, but yeah, we're pointing everyone to that Greater Groton page. And the goal there is just having all of the information available in one place. So it's a one-stop shop for the whole process.
I was just gonna ask about the update on Groton Heights.
Yeah, so that one is just kind of on hold right now. The town council voted to send it back to the property sale review committee. And that chair will call the meeting to discuss the shortlist. As I understand it right now, it would be after the budget season, so probably late May, early June. But there's not a set date yet.
Any other questions for the staff?
I'm curious, I know John or somebody was for an article on all the developments where we have it on Long Hill Road, who, what, where and whatnot. And I was asking John the other day, what's coming up at that pizza place, Pizza Hut place?
It's gonna be
I saw to you, yeah.
it's gonna be a restaurant that the people that bought Paul's Pasta
Uh-huh.
actually invested in that one. The plan I saw said the knot. It's like the garlic knot. or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
what John said. He couldn't think.
Yeah, it's gonna
It
be.
didn't make sense.
It wasn't really the name. They just put it on there for artist rendering. They
Okay,
weren't stuck on that name, but it's gonna. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying, like Italian style restaurant. I'm pretty
Excellent.
excited.
that's
I
lovely.
could walk to that one. Not
You're
that I
gonna be
will.
smiling.
I'll-
Smell the garlic,
I'll drive.
You smell garlic every day.
I do.
the garlic will fill you in.
I don't even like garlic that much. I got surprised today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it worthwhile to list some of the developments that we're having here on any of those websites?
Yeah, we were recently chatting about that because you can follow along on certain tools that are available to the public as far as what's being permitted and what's coming up. So I think we like to point folks to the existing tools, just sort of not reinventing that wheel. But we may we are launching new social media that will kind of provide some updates there. And we're, again, with that website revamp, thinking about how we might want to feature certain projects. Yeah, but not replace the process of folks following along with council and approvals, but
No,
just some features.
that's tedious.
Are you talking about like, look at how much work is going on, you should invest here because there's all this work happening, is that sort of?
That kind of a reflective, so that, you know, that gives you both, and John, much to brag about.
Right.
Look at the website and see how much, what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
and also, since we on being recorded for a $400,000 thing, by posting such an information on the website, gives, it would incentivize reaching out to the state for the CDF fund, Community Development Fund, and trying to increase our total amount of money to maybe $600 or $800,000. So it shows, because they got money sitting there to request.
To put into the EAF fund, you're saying?
One of the EF fund, and to fund many other things in Groton, because the state continuously touts EB in every marketing material. And we are not getting the parity as all the other 168 municipalities.
Great.
So we just finished the second round, so there's a third round, so John is aware. So we should ask.
Excellent. We just got approval to go for a CIF, two CIF grants actually as well. And those are through the state and require, they're essentially gap financing. So they require to show that we have the other funds already secured. So we'll be moving ahead with two of those in this round 7. And then we have projects saved for round 8. Those still need to be approved from our council. But essentially we're starting on that round 7 now.
So even that grant could be considered as marketing. So we could get money under the brand of marketing from the state fund, from CEF or CDF, just worth about $1.5 billion. So we should just actively ask
Great. Thank you.
every quarter round.
Good.
two more updates in the staff report. Wayfinding signage, there's been a wayfinding project happening for some time. I've been able to move it along, so we're gonna be getting a new gateway sign right at 1 and 17, Route 1 and 17. And then 3 smaller destination signs coming Route 1 and onto Route 14. So that will be going out to RFP hopefully this month. And then secondly, the foreign trade zone. I was doing some research when I first started in this role about the zone, about the fee schedules and everything. And we also heard from one of the local business who's interested in applying, had reached out to the New London Foreign Trade Zone Commission about the fees being pretty high and a barrier to participating.
The free trade zone.
Yeah, locally it's foreign trade zone. So I had done some research. I looked at all the foreign trade zones in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Mass, and New London's and Windsor Locks had the highest participation rates of $7,500 for entry, $5,000 annually. And I think both only had one active site. The rates and scheduling approaches were different at all of the other sites. So I had shared the information that I gathered with the New London FTZ Commission, and then they met this week. And they ended up voting unanimously to change their rates from that $7,500 entry to a $4,500 entry and $5,000 annually to $3,000 annually. So they are having some marketing materials put together by Quinn and Harry, but that is information we'll be able to share with our local businesses to be able to support them and let them know if you were looking at it before, it might be easier. If you weren't familiar, something you might want to consider.
And this is great news overall, just because the fees are lowered, but when we reached out to the commission, they had been already considering it largely, just because they had heard from other applicants, so I think with our applicant as well, it was just enough to say, okay, and then with the best practices research, that definitely helped. So we're really excited that they were willing to consider that and then have that great news to share.
So this Groton business wants to bring in stuff through the port. Tariff free, so to speak.
The applicant who couldn't afford the fees, essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. They didn't end up going for it for a few reasons, including the fees, but it is public, that is public. So once they have those marketing materials and everything's set up, you can reach out to them and let them know essentially that they could apply at this point, or it might be closer to a range that they can.
Just to add a novelty information. In the city of Groton, just beside building 114 is United States duty free zone. And I did many things trying to get that activated with Carnival Cruises, American Air, all kinds of stuff. But we gave it away, I think. Pfizer spent millions to get that little corners, United States free trade zone. The signboard was still there once upon a time. If I may drift away, when you talk about sightings, street signs, is there a way maybe the Groton Beautification Committee or somebody could enhance Joe's favorite project, the US submarine capital signage? You know, maybe it's my age, but seems incredibly hard to see. I don't get to see it. Oh, it's over there. Yeah, there it is. It's dim. Is there a way to better light it or give a better lighting at the back or improve the lighting?
Black
We-
and 85?
Yeah, it's us.
You know, is it on our property?
Yeah.
Our sign and everything?
It's us.
Um,
It's us.
We can look into it because it's not on the radar as part of the wayfinding project, but I agree, it's very dark and there's not a lot happening
But
there. so-
all the more because the state is doubting us as submarine capital. And hence we should really make it visible to everybody going to Rhode Island or Massachusetts to see.
And those marketing funds that you mentioned are available at a state level. We feel like it's kind of.
Yes, you just have to ask.
Great. Look into it.
As with all bargaining, you want 50,000, you ask for 150. Joe knows that too.
Yeah, right. On the sign that you said is out for RFP, not the one that was hit by a driver, that was insurance, or that also we repaying for that?
That one, there is insurance funding. Insurance funds available. It's all part of the same project. So it's a total of 4 signs. That's a big one. The others are relatively small.
Yeah.
And then there's also CIP funding and ARPA funding for supporting the project. So it's pretty well covered.
A lot of people asked me about that sign, because they were happy that it was there, and then it was there for like 2 months or something. Straight, the one right at the end of 117, instead of going left or right, they went straight. And just mowed it, like, it was a great looking sign. That, when you were saying RFP, it's a RFP, but then the insurance will pay for that section or that portion of the. Because someone's car hit that.
Yeah, so we are getting the insurance funds. It's just kind of in the whole.
It's all in the
lot.
whole.
Yeah, it's not directly, like, you don't do that sign until we have those funds, like the.
You mean the driver's insurance?
The driver's insurance.
Yeah, not the town's insurance. He's
Yeah.
talking about the driver.
Yeah, they must have.
Yeah, there's a payout.
Oh, okay.
There is.
Yes. And once we are able to get that going and the signs fabricated, they'll be installed by our public works team. And then, of course, we'll do a lot of promotion around that. And I know our beautification committee is waiting to plant some flowers and do some things too. So I think it'll be exciting.
As far as the sign getting lit up, my wife, who is not known as a kind of day laborer type person, she doesn't like the manual labor stuff. The mayor took her to that sign and they planted 200 tulips on that hill,
Oh,
like this.
Oh, wow.
And she
Can't even-
was sore for like 3 months. We're gonna we should have did solar tulips. They could have lit it up.
the farmer who sold it to us really made money.
Yeah. All right, so, everyone all set with staff reports and
Yes.
questions? All right, liaison reports? And,
I guess I'll start. I don't have a whole lot this month. I guess the high is that, as far as rebates that we've given out, in 2005, we're already at $321,000 in rebates funds that we've passed out, which is significantly, I mean, it's not totals for past years, but we're halfway through. So we're on record pace for handing out rebates for different things. I've seen an uptick. I've done 2 Solar Plus solar rebates that are in the works. But I'm seeing a little more commercial groups coming to me looking for different HVACs, improved VFDs type of thing, lighting, that type of thing is still coming in. So I think we're doing pretty well as far as rebates go.
Is there, I had a question because we had talked possibly about setting up some kind of meeting for the town where they didn't have, because I am looking at solar.
Okay.
I don't.
I didn't know if I wanted to bring that up.
I do
Got
want to.
shut down the day after that.
Yeah.
They told me they do not want to facilitate anything that makes us look like we are picking winners for installers. And so the worst thing we could do is have some sort of workshop, have the group there, and then somebody use them and not be happy with them and then blaming us
Yeah.
for the introduction. So we try to stay out of that every chance we get. And we do use the Green Bank. They have like a contractor tool online that they vetted these groups. We do pass people that direction, but as far as GU is concerned, we don't want to pick winners.
And there was one other thing I saw that I was curious about was the amount of solar that they've installed. Actually, we had one day in April on a sunny day where it was the lowest call for need in Connecticut for electricity on the grid, which they directly related to the more use of solar.
Okay.
And, you know, in the end, in my mind, when I was saying, hey, my bigger, because you guys are a transmission company and you're taking care of lines, if there's that many people supplying to the grid, is that gonna increase cost? I mean, because at some point, if all these people are selling electricity back, which I want to be one of those people, but is that gonna, you know, kind of be a disadvantage for someone that's a tenant that doesn't have control of that, or for someone that has a home and can't afford to do solar panels, or?
Is that gonna limit them? No, because we still collect the distribution portion of the rate. So if you had solar at your place, you'd be generating, but you're only allowed to generate up to about 100%, really like 98% of what your house uses.
Yeah.
So we're not looking or allowing people, and I think it's a state law that won't allow people to become net generators. Because then there's a whole, you know, tax thing and, you know, then they're
Yeah.
basically, you're building a business.
I was talking about collectively though, they needed, just for now, I don't know all the numbers, but the lowest they ever had for a call in April was like 9 megawatt for a day or whatever it is.
Okay, so
Down to like 8.
that's gonna just offset their usage.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see it affect people down the road
Okay,
within the same territory. So it's not gonna negatively affect them or positively affect them, because every month, say you had solar on your house, we're giving you a credit on a monthly basis. Now, if you, after a year, are still generating more, we'll shut paying payments off to you.
okay.
But on a monthly basis, we do credit back the house for generating more than they use.
And I think in the overall point is if say 50% of the people have solar 20 years from now, people that don't, at some point, there's gonna be some kind of a, right, because we're trying to, you know, like the biggest calls I ever get are what my electricity bills are. I was a former state rep and a former counselor, but they act like I'm still elected when they get their bill in their hand. And-
Yeah, there is no cost shift. Say you get solar and she doesn't have solar and you guys live next to each other.
Yeah.
She is not, there's no cost shift between you to her to make sure that she's paying for some portion of it. So when we bill you out, we still collect our distribution value, but we do give you credit for the transmission and the generation rate, which would be just as if we're buying it off ISO.
Okay.
So it shouldn't affect you or anybody in our territory.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to wrap your head around. It really is.
Do it every day.
Any questions for GU? So
Okay, great. Thank you. My little write-up here, I've got on the first page or 2 pages, a little write-up from the Iowa commissioning. I won't go through it all. but it was a very successful event. But I will point out on the second page there, a neat little quote that Admiral Cottle, the Fleet Force Commander, said. And I hadn't heard this, but I don't know if it's old or new, but he says he called his participation in the event a homecoming to the submarine capital of the world, of course, Groton, a place he called the nation's center of gravity for the steely-eyed killers of the deep. I think that was cool. It was kind of neat. I read that. Oh, that's interesting. So anyway, you can read the rest of that. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So I wanted to just briefly mention April was the month of the military child. We're a little late here, but that's okay. Often we think obviously of the families and how they're impacted by, really any of our service members who are actively serving. But we don't necessarily, at least I never really necessarily thought more about the children other than, parents go away for a while and things like that. But there's a lot of impacts that the kids go through for any service member. And I just wrote down a couple of little facts. And the first one is just kind of a funny, we would call military kids brats, right? Military brats. There's actually a reason for that. That's not just a nickname. It actually stands for a British Regiment Attached Traveler. And that started, way back, and it just kind of stuck, that the kids are attached travelers to the.
Germany, where the US soldiers were based,
Excuse me?
because the US soldiers were based in Germany. And they were eating a lot of bratwurst.
I know, they're attached travelers, just, the kids, and I guess it would go for the families too. They were just attached to the soldier back then. So anyway, that's where that word came from. I just thought that was interesting. But the military kids, there's about 1.4 children for each service member. So there's a lot of them, probably more than you would even think. These kids are typically more likely to join the military than an average kid, probably for obvious reasons. And the kids are also very resilient for what they've gone through. But on the negative side, the big thing is one of the big things, they relocate 10 times more than the average family, typically every 2 to 3 years, which could equal 6 to 9 school changes during a typical K to 12. So that's, we're staying where we're at. I'd love to move down this way and get rid of some of this commute I've got, but I've got a son still in the pool, and we're going to stick it out for his last 3 years because I don't want to put him through that. And of course, these kids, are regularly put through it. And of course, they didn't ask for it. It's their parents. They're just kind of along for the ride. So, and that can lead to a lot of, that, and also the fact, of course, their parents go away, especially if there's some kind of a conflict, like during the Desert Storm and things like that, where, there's always, in the back of the kid's mind that something could happen to the dad or mom or whoever it is. So it leads to a lot of anxiety and depression and things like that. So just something to think about. The kids really are impacted a lot. So the other thing I just wanted to mention, we just got done with our exercise, which G was involved with us with a little bit anyway, which is our hurricane exercise we have every year. And the Navy comes up with this hurricane that kind of bounces up and down the coast and hits every Navy base. Funny path for the hurricane. If you look at the hurricane, it's like going up the Great Lakes, doing all these weird things. But it's an opportunity for us to look at basically our preparedness for these kinds of storms each year. And a big part of that, of course, is the power outage. And that culminated this last Tuesday, I believe it was, this past Tuesday, a couple days ago, with another big power outage that we had at the base. And we started off by going from Groton Utilities to our microgrid seamlessly, like we flipped over and cut the main power to the base, and nobody even knew it happened. So that worked well. And then we went totally black, do a black start, and brought up our systems alone without Groton Utilities, and ran for like 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours off our systems alone. And that worked. A couple of hiccups, but it worked. Once I got everything up going, it worked flawlessly. And then at the end of the day, of course, we swapped back over to the normal mode. So it was another great successful test of our systems, and we're just real happy that that's up. And I guess moving forward, they're going to try and do this like twice a year, just do a full test. So
Jeff, wait for now.
Well, Tuesday, we, I guess, I don't know how the outage happened, but we were disconnected from you. I don't know if you did it or we
This was
did it.
last week, right?
This last Tuesday.
Oh, last Tuesday, okay. I was
Three
thinking-
days ago,
So,
four days ago. Yeah, so 2 days ago, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, we were at work and we were the great, we didn't even know it. We were all on our computers doing our thing and so. But then it went down and it took about an hour to come back up on our own system from a black start. That takes longer because you have to do it in phases and all that, but pretty neat. System works, so we're excited. That's all I have. Any questions or anything?
I'd say something about the kids part, because I didn't realize how impactful they were until I coached. You know,
Oh, yeah.
my kids always got to, and a new person would come up and a mom and say, oh my God, I wish I had this, because in them, when I started coaching my grandson, and a mom would say, I wish my father could be around and wish he could. So they do sacrifice a lot. And, you know, I remember coaching kids and, you know, you're getting ready to play your first game and the kid just got the confidence of knowing a new coach, players, and now they're leaving from here to fly or here to Virginia. I had one guy called me on the way down. I'm saying, hey, is your son coming? Oh, I forgot to tell you, we're driving to Virginia right now. Oh, you coming back? No, we're not coming back. This is over. So, but in mid-season, and Little League makes it difficult because you have to be signed up for a league because of an all-star thing. So they might go to another town where they can't even have the opportunity to play. So, I mean, I saw you see it firsthand. And kids, and they are more resilient for it, but it's like, you hope, and I think our community prepared for it. But our Little League is really, really, really down right now and weak. And because a lot of our kids come from the service. And
Coming and going.
I think if it was a community where 35,000 people just lived here all the time and it was the same people, dads that are in the Navy that come and want to help coach, he was in that car too. So he was also going, so that's a volunteer that's going, so we almost have to step up a little bit more in Groton here, and it's tough to do. It's not, and volunteerism down. So if anyone's listening to this, they need more coaches at the Little League because they just lost their president. Dave Franco was doing really, really good job, and he ended up moving on. He's coaching up at the high school, but the Little League needs a lot of help down there. So just to.
That's another aspect too, which I didn't bring up, but as these kids grow up, you know, they're not like normally most kids, they grow up, they're near their parents, their uncles, their aunts, their cousins, whatever. A lot of these kids are not. You know, they don't have that access maybe just a couple times a year to go see, you know, grandma or whoever. So it's just a huge impact on them. It really is. Think about.
I talked to a few of them. Some of them loved it though. They love going to different places. So there's two sides, but it's tough.
Yeah, they do get to, you know, maybe go over to Germany or someplace, you know,
That's where I was born.
Yeah, but it's still,
That too.
I'm a brat. Yeah, I don't know if that's a granddad joke or a dad joke, the bratwurst one, but I liked it.
Ask your father, he'll tell you.
Oh, my God. All right, so liaison report done. Other business? Anybody? I do have to announce that we are.
It's not allowed, the business is not allowed. so-
Other business?
Yeah.
The special meeting.
special meeting, yeah.
This one is?
Just because we moved the time.
Oh, because of
Technically
the time.
this.
Okay.
Yes, I motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sweet.
There you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we don't have to be in business for this. I'm inviting everyone to our ribbon cutting. May 31st, because we won't meet again until after it's done. Our new building is done. We have moved in. We've been doing a lot of work. Cut all the trees. It's the old Flats Tattoo next to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's next to, Ortega's